Theater is a unique art form in many ways. But to which of these three categories of art does it belong? As we saw last time, the initial theater and artist, the playwright, is really engaged in a literary art. Set, costume, properties, and lighting designers are really engaged in creating a visual art. But our instinct is to say that theater is a performing arts. We should trust our instincts. To understand where theater fits in, we need to have a firm understanding as to what the main art object of theater is. The main art object of theater is not the script. We can have theater without a script. In fact, we'll be talking about the art and history of improvisation this semester. Improvisation is the art of creating theater without scripts. Noted theater artist Viola Spolin has made a career of creating theater without scripts. You may have also seen this done on television with Drew Carey's Whose Line Is It Anyway? A script is often used, but is not necessary to create theater. The same can be said of the visual needs of theater. You need to be able to see a theater performance, but it's not necessary to create a unified visual image in order to have theater. Street theater is a form of theater where a set, costumes, nor even the stage is needed to have theater. Well, you need actors to have theater, true, but are actors the main art object of theater? No. The actors are the artist. It's not the actors themselves, but what the actors create that is the main art object of theater. The performance. But what are the actors performing that make it different from music, dance, or opera? It's in the unique nature of this art object that we separate theater from other performing arts. The main art object of theater is dramatic action. It's an action in motion. It's a performance art because once the dramatic action of the actor has been performed, it ceases to exist. A production may perform the same play each night, but as with life, the nature of that performance changes with each performance and becomes a different experience for both the performer and the audience. What is dramatic action? Let's go back to the earliest discussion on record of the nature of dramatic action. In the 4th century BC, the ancient Greek philosopher Aristotle wrote a work entitled Poetics. In Poetics, Aristotle attempted to discuss the nature of art, literature, and theater. In Poetics, Aristotle referred to the genre of the most popular form of theater of that time, tragedy, as an imitation of an action. This definition has sufficed for centuries as the basic definition for the main art object of theater, dramatic action. Theater borrows from life itself to create its object. It takes the everyday actions of human existence and puts them on stage in order to comment on the human condition itself. It is, however, not an action, but an imitation of an action. That is to say that the audience is very aware that what they're watching is a fiction. It is the artificial quality of the action that makes it an art object. Even though the audience is aware that the action they're viewing is a fiction, they still become emotionally involved in the action of the play. Why is this? If the audience is aware that they are watching actors on a stage, then why do they fear for them when they are in danger? Why are they moved for them when they suffer? This is all part of the magic of theater. We become emotionally and personally involved in the action of a play because of the universal truth which exists behind the fiction. Even though we know that what we're watching isn't real, we're willing to accept it as reality while we are watching it. This is known as the willful suspension of disbelief. Audience members are willing to suspend its knowledge that the play itself is a fiction while they are watching the action so that they can connect with the human experience on stage in a complete and profound manner. This brings up another concept related to dramatic action, the illusion of reality. This concept is closely related to Aristotle's term, an imitation of an action. A play production is creating an illusion much in the same way that a magician does. Even though we know that there's a trick behind the trick that we're seeing, we are willing to accept a magician's magic as real magic. Theater creates an illusion in the same way. Even though we know that the actors who present Romeo and Juliet are dressed up in costumes of the period and are engaged in actions such as sword fighting and masked balls, that they are not really these people engaged in these actions. We are willing to accept the reality so that we may benefit fully from the experience. So let's summarize. The main art object of theater is dramatic action. Dramatic action is an imitation of an action that requires a willful suspension of disbelief on the part of the audience in order to create the illusion of reality. Because dramatic action is the main art object of theater, we would categorize theater as a performance art. Dramatic action is ephemeral in nature. It exists only for the moment that it is being performed. Well, that brings us to the end of this section. We have one more very important section on theater art. The next section will take a close look at the nature of dramatic action and how you should apply your knowledge of dramatic action to the requirements of the rest of the semester.